Good evening, all. Welcome to Axanar Confidential number 111. Welcome, Geoff Fagien, our illustrious director of photography. How are you doing tonight, Geoff?
Doing great. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, good. Just got back from a dog rescue run. Had to pick up a big, ugly bulldog from one of the local shelters and take it to the rescue. So, So I had to race home because Crystal had to head into work, and So it's been a whirlwind day. And then I fed my face with last night's leftover. Last night we went to Longhorn, which I love, and so I had my Longhorn left. Of course, I don't eat steaks, so I had the salmon, which they do a great job on. So little I guess we should get Longhorn as a sponsor.
Yeah.
So
if only.
Yeah. So hope everyone's doing well. This is an early edition of Axanar Confidential. We usually shoot for 10. Tonight we're doing it at 7. Which if you're in Europe and staying up late, you can catch a little of the show. So hope everyone's doing well. There's Troy Light. How are you, Troy? Donnie Pearson, Red Tiller, Nefarious Ferrets is in. Yes. How are you, sir? Armano, and Josh Irwin is here. Hey, Josh. It's good to see you. I know that Josh is actually doing a shoot for Avalon Universe. The same weekend we're shooting in Atlanta, he'll be shooting in Arkansas. Yes, please hit the like button, everyone. We would greatly appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed also, and let me. The two things you need to do is be part of our newsletter. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter down there. And then down below is our Patreon campaign. And we greatly appreciate it if you're part of our Patreon campaign. So that goes, the Patreon is to support the studio, which Dana has been doing an excellent job at getting in shape for our shoot next month. I was over at Dana's today, and I just need some 2x4s cut. Now, I don't have a saw, so he broke out the saw. We cut some 2x4s for this. I have to build this wall for Crystal's booth at the antique mall she's at.
Gotcha. Well, it sounds like he's the right person to go to.
Yeah. And he's set me straight on how to build a car. You would think that, come on, it's 4 2x4s in a square and some studs, and no. He's like, no, you need okay.
Not that easy.
What do I know? I can. So he's the man. Troy. All right. I never had Walmart steaks. I don't eat steaks, so I'm going to take your word for it, Troy. Eric Matson, how are you, sir? Merry Christmas to Merry Christmas to everyone. And just arrived. I just got 4 boxes of them. There you go. The Axanar 2023 calendar. Right, all these great images of the USS Ares. The calendar is here, and it's dynamite, and it's in the Ares Studio Store. So you can go to the Ares Studio Store and check it out. They are for sale there. The certificate expired on the Ares Studio Store. So just a heads up, I've got to call GoDaddy Lee. Lee has been out with a stomach bug, so he wasn't able to deal with it today. So if you go to the Ares Studio Store and it says "Danger, Will Robinson," don't worry about it. We're cool. But our security certificate expired. So anyway, there you go. And there's another new member. Thank you, Frank Parker, for joining the Ares Studio. This is the Axanar channel. So joining, I guess this indicates that you have joined our community. You become a channel member. So thank you, Frank. Let me know if you're going to come down for our shoot, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit. Hello, Leah Anderson. How are you? Good to see you. We're going to talk a little bit about the shoot next month. We had a big call yesterday. Not a big call. There were 4 of us. Mark Edward Lewis, who's directing the bridge scene, and Jeff and Dana, who obviously is supplying graphics and things for that. So there you go. Whoever is the Facebook user, you need to authorize Facebook to allow us to see who you are. So there you go. It will sometime this year. That's all I can tell you. We've got, so basically, just to recap what we've been talking about, we have 3 shoots to put Axanar in the can. We did one last year in November of last year with J.G. Hertzler, Raj Kala as Commodore Singh, and Robert Hayes as Xander DeVille, the pilot. That went fantastic. Very excited about that. So we have 2 more shoots, one here in Atlanta, one in LA. We were going to do the LA shoot first, but it just worked out a lot better to do the Atlanta shoot first. That is happening next month. And as part of that shoot, we are doing a 1-day bridge shoot. And since we have VFX for this one particular scene that we're complete, mostly complete, about 2/3 done for the scene that's supposed to be in the movie, we are like, let's just shoot that scene on the bridge and do something really interesting. So that's what we're doing. Oh my God. And look who it is. There we go. There is my law school roommate, David Barley, law school being 35 years ago. Back we were roommates in, what was that, David? It was, we were roommates in 85 through 87, I think, at Granville Towers there in Chapel Hill. So David's a good dear friend of mine. Seen his kids grow up and go to one of them's at Carolina. I forgot. Where's the other one? Is it Appalachian State? I forget, David. You can fill me in. But David's a very, very dear friend. Miss Karen B. Hey, how are you? Good to see you again. And Ken Hansen, how are you? Saying hi to Donnie Pearson. So Ken Hansen says, perhaps you can give an insight into this. I've been a long time Trek fan, but recently lost the interest. I saw 2 seasons of Discovery, and it was like watching a rerun of the TOS and other series. Wow, I would probably be happy if it was as good as TOS and the other series. I listen, all I can say is, just to be fair, not a huge fan of the first 2 seasons of Discovery. Season 1, not at all. Season 2 was a lot better, and there was some really good stuff, including Pike. You have, if you are new, if you're a longtime Trek fan, the things you got to watch, you got to watch Lower Decks. Even though it's animated, it's cartoon, it's hysterical, and it's built for Star Trek fans. And you got to watch Strange New Worlds because that is a fantastic show. It really, really is. And Jeff, you've seen Strange New Worlds, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
That was pretty good.
That's it? Just pretty good? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it?
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was decent. It was decent Star Trek. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, I listen. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Obviously, Anson Mount makes a great captain. Where he brought a lot to that role. I thought it was, I thought it was really interesting. I thought the season finale was fantastic.
I do agree on that. I really did like that.
That was really, really well done, and tying it into Balance of Terror was just freaking brilliant. So good news there. So Kent, give it a shot. Listen, you can keep going on Discovery, but I don't think you're going to find it getting much better. But I will say, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, both good. And Picard, Jeff and I have talked about this before. I think Picard is a little uneven. I think just the right, I think the things that we've suffered through with Discovery and Picard were just uneven writing. But but Picard is nonetheless worth watching if you're a Star Trek fan.
Especially of Next Gen.
Yeah, if you're a Next Gen fan, you got to watch it. You just got to watch it. So there you go. Okay, so Jeff, tell us, give the fans a little insight into what's coming up with this shoot. What are we doing? How are we doing it? What are we doing differently? What are you excited about?
So, I can really talk to it more from a technical perspective because Mark will have a better idea of everything overall. But from a technical perspective, we're shooting a lot of interviews, which, we've done plenty of. So that's always fun on the green screen. And what's different about this shoot is the one day we're shooting on the bridge where we're shooting a scene. However, we're shooting this scene in anamorphic, which is essentially the same type of, not the same exact tools that J.J. Abrams used, but the same type of footage you would see in a lot of J.J. Abrams' more recent movies like Mission Impossible, Star Trek 2009, the first Star Wars, The Force Awakens, all of his movies, they have, the lens flares and all that stuff. But anamorphic isn't just about, the lens flares and whatnot. It's about the look of the footage. And so that's what we wanted to do that's different. And since we're shooting what would have been a scene, and it's going to kind of live on its own, we decided to, take the jump and shoot it in anamorphic, since I do have some anamorphic glass at my disposal. We're not shooting all of Axanar in anamorphic because we already started filming and we've used traditional photography-based lenses to do that. But this one scene will be really special. It'll be something I can't wait to show everybody.
Yeah, and I can't either. I think that the one thing I said to you and to Mark right off the bat was, I said, look, I don't want it to look like TOS. That's just, there's so many fan films have done a very good job replicating TOS, and we know the way that looks, but that's not Axanar. Axanar is not meant to look like Star Trek you've seen before. One, its format is fundamentally different. The whole interview format, it's fundamentally different. And even then, with the interview format, I know I watched Sam Cocking's latest. Sam Cockings has started to realize that this documentary format gives him a lot of flexibility into how he makes fan films. And I've watched his, which were very good. The one I watched with Nick Cook, I thought was a very well done fan film. The only thing is, it's very. Basically, Nick looked like I look on the screen right now. It's like I'm framed like this, and I'm in this half of the frame, and there's and it looked good. I thought Sam did a great job with it, but it looked like any interview you might see on TV or on, I always say ESPN, because they've done some really wonderful stuff with interviews. But yeah, it looked like a lot of different behind the scenes style interviews you might see on TV, which is good. I mean, it's high quality, but that's not what Axanar is. Axanar not only doesn't look like Star Trek, it doesn't look like most interviews. And that's because of the way Milton shot it back in 2014. He was a fan of, if you go and watch the documentary Fighting Ali, there's a very specific style. It's very, what's the right word? I mean, certainly a lot of close-ups, a lot of framing that you don't usually see.
It's artistically lit and shot versus a typical interview that you'd see on TV. But that's the way a lot of documentary interviews are now. They're not lit very flat. Lighting very flat. Like I'm lit pretty flat right now. But this isn't meant to be a documentary. This is meant to be a live stream. But a lot of TV based interviews are always lit very flat. And it's a time saver, whether time saver to set up the shot and also a time saver to do stuff like, do green screen compositing and whatnot. Just lighting people flat. It's just easier all around. And it makes a lot of sense. But, normal documentaries or more cinematic looking documentaries don't have that look.
Yeah, I agree. And so there you go. So with the bridge scene, I didn't want it to look like, and this is kind of where the producing comes versus the filmmaking, which is Geoff, and the direction, which is Mark. I kind of gave Mark the go ahead to film it in a very different dynamic way, and I don't dictate that. I just told Mark, Mark, there are other ways to shoot Star Trek. We do not want this to look like TOS. Look at some of the more dynamic ways they're shooting Star Trek, even these days, even whether it's Discovery or Strange New Worlds. But, even though I'm not a huge fan of JJ Trek, I enjoy it. I don't feel the way I feel about, say, Strange New Worlds, which I love. But I still really respect JJ as a visual storyteller. He likes making images, like the TIE fighters coming out of the sun, or the Star Destroyer crashed on a planet. He wants you to make images that are memorable. And so I told you and I told Mark, I said, I really like the way they shot, the Kelvin battle scene at the beginning. It's very dynamic and the camera's over moving, which then leads into, it's kind of the way, go back to one of my favorite guilty pleasure movie, Armageddon, and watch Armageddon. And the camera never stops. Michael Bay will, I'm sure there was not a tripod on that entire set, but it creates a lot of drama, I feel. What are your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Well, especially in action, and if you're doing an action piece, the camera moving kind of helps sell the action. Whereas if you're shooting an action piece and you have a camera just on a tripod and there's nothing going on, there's not a lot of action in the shot itself. Even if a lot of people are, doing something, the action of the camera's like another character in the story. Yeah. Whereas if the camera's just sitting on a tripod, it's almost just passively watching it. So you want to feel immersed as a viewer. And that's why, that's the big thing now is with the moving shots or like the handheld shots that are shaking. It's supposed to kind of immerse you as the viewer that you were like in this scene.
Yeah. And I was, even watching, right now I'm binging SEAL Team on Paramount Plus. And as I'm watching that, I'm just watching a scene that was taking place in their, it was just taking place in the house and in a safe house, and they're just around a table talking, and I'm watching. I'm going, wow, they're really not using tripods here. The camera is always moving, even if it's subtle. Sometimes it's
and like Battlestar Galactica was like kind of like the first really big show that I remember that did a lot of that, where it was like Star Trek traditionally had a lot of very still shots. Even when you go back and look at Next Gen, even if they may be cutting to like a bunch of different camera angles. A lot of the shots in Next Gen that I remember are very, very static. Whereas Battlestar Galactica, there's always like that shake in the footage, to almost make it feel like, you're there with the cameraman who's taking all this stuff, filming all of it as it's happening.
Yeah. Well, and which even to a layperson like me, it makes sense. You could take a picture, you could set the camera up and frame, frame Eddie almost as a Dama giving orders on the bridge, or you can have the camera moving and just the movement creates drama, creates impact, or the feeling of being on a ship or whatever. It's just, it's interesting the way camera techniques have evolved. So I think what we're going to be shooting here at the end of January, I'm excited. I can't wait to see it because I think you guys.
There's basically not one shot that's just a static shot on a tripod of everything we're shooting for this specific scene. Now, when it comes to the interview shots, it's a different story. But for this specific scene, it'll be the first thing we've shot where there's literally not one still shot that's going to be seen.
Stephen Ross asks, what would you call Ken Burns' documentary style?
Ken Burns. That's what you'd call it. He's got his own way. Literally, I'm not even joking. When like people want to do what Ken Burns does, they say they're doing it like they're doing a Ken Burns style documentary. That's how you describe his stuff. Especially to other filmmakers, they're like, oh, I get it. Because it's his flair on it, his paintbrush. It's so different from a lot of what people do. If you're really into the Ken Burns style, he does a really, really amazing masterclass where he talks about everything. He talks about his entire process. So great watch if you're into Ken Burns.
Well, much thanks to Todd Simo here for becoming one of our channel members. Thank you very much, Todd. We appreciate it. And if you do become a channel member, Stogie posts things and you get, it's kind of like being part of our Patreon. You get unique offers and such. Jim Westbrook says, who is Ken Burns? Jim Westbrook, who are you? I'm shocked, Jim, that you don't know who Ken Burns is. Ken Burns is a legendary documentary filmmaker who has made, what was his most famous one? Was it the Civil War one?
Couldn't tell. That was one that he referenced a lot in his masterclass. So I would probably agree if that's what they were referencing in his masterclass most of the time.
Yeah, and he also did a very well-known one on Vietnam. He did another one on baseball. He did one. That was good. Just a fascinating filmmaker.
He's good at telling a story and finding footage that helps tell that story, even if that like what the story he's telling, that footage isn't exactly what he's telling you. But it's so he finds these images that relate so much to what he's saying that it makes you feel like you're watching everything unfold as it's happening. So it's pretty that's why he's got his Ken Burns style.
Yeah, that is our cat going at the calendar boxes because there's some threads hanging off the tape there. So yeah, there's always and this is Pee Wee here. Pee Wee with his little hoodie. What's up, buddy? Who everyone knows, Pee Wee is my little buddy. All right, and now I literally got 5 dogs and a cat and right down below me. All right, let's see. Yeah, the Civil War. Frank mentions the Civil War. Leah Anderson mentions Vietnam. Yep, both great. I mean, Ken Burns he's just amazing. He's a freaking national treasure.
For real.
You're right. I mean, it's just, he's one of those filmmakers that just he's such an important part of the fabric of our social discourse, as well as our history.
Someone just said, "Come on, Jim, Ken Burns, PBS. Come on, he there is a lot of Ken Burns on PBS."
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And Frank, just to one up me, Frank Burns has said he has 5 cats, 5 dogs, and 2 ferrets. So yeah, you outgun us. So there, Frank. So good on you. Make sure you follow up with me, Frank, so we can talk about you coming to the shoot next month. So with the shoot next month, right now we're working on finishing the cast list. Who is actually going to be performing? And I've got 3 of them set, including myself. I'll be shooting my stuff. Today I got Claude Dozier from Italy, our French friend in Italy, who did all the Cage era costumes, is grilling me he always keeping track of who's wearing what costume. Like, so how many of our costumes are you going to be using? So I went down the list of who's shooting here, who's shooting in LA.
I'm sure he was happy to hear that.
Yeah, we got to work that out, and we have to work the green jacket that you used in the decommission, that I used in the decommissioning.
Yeah.
He'd like to work that in. I don't know if we can do that though, just because
not on the green screen. But I mean, on the non-green screen stuff, I'm sure we can make it work. But
yeah, maybe we'll figure out something else out for that.
It's not like it would be impossible, but we're not a Marvel movie here, so it's like,
I know
that would be interesting.
Speaking of which, have you seen the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, holiday special?
I did. I thought for what it was pretty decent.
Yeah, we saw it for a second time because Crystal hadn't seen it, so we went to bed last night and turned that on, and it was my second time watching it. I still laughed my ass off, and I'm still just going, "This is freaking brilliant!" It's what a brilliant way to. I love all the self-effacing actor humor. I mean,
yeah, that was interesting that they did it so much. I'm like, they did it like once or twice, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And they did it like maybe in total like 4 times. I'm like, okay,
yeah, I know,
okay,
I know. When Nebula did it at the end, I was just like, oh my god, that's so.
I feel like James Gunn has like worked with some actors that he like publicly dislikes, and he's just like putting it in there, like rubbing it in. Yeah,
I know. It was. I tell you, it was brilliant. It was. I think that with holiday specials, you can, it can always be hitting someone too hard on the head, with the Christmas spirit. But I think they did a wonderful job with that. And they just still, Mantis is a hysterical character. She was really, really funny in that. The way she's so mellow and talks in such a meek voice, and then when she gets mad, she goes off. But and Dave Bautista he's just really found his footing in what a it's always nice to see someone like Dave or an Arnold or someone, from a totally, or The Rock, who makes their way and finds their footing in acting after, I mean, certainly you can always say wrestling is acting. But
it just wasn't his initial profession that he got big, famous and known for. So it's like he did a very solid move over from wrestling into acting.
Yeah, and Batista's really interesting. He does such a great job with that character. It's you can look at it. Look at what he was in Blade Runner 2049 or in the Zack Snyder zombie movie, Zombie Army, whatever Army of.
Or Inspector.
Inspector.
He was Inspector, James Bond.
Oh, Inspector. Was it? Yeah. He was Inspector?
He was. He was one of the bad guys.
Well, of course he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
Of course
he was one of those white jacket wearing bad guys.
Okay, big news. So we had 2 back-to-back pieces of big news from Henry Cavill within the matter of 2 days, 3 days. First of all,
it was. Oh yeah, you're right. It was 2 days.
Yeah. So first of all, Henry Cavill posts in his usual great. The guy has got to be the biggest mensch in Hollywood. That James Gunn. He met with James Gunn, and he does not figure into the future of Superman. What are your thoughts there?
When that report came out, that was like kind of weird. That basically said Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman was axed. Jason Momoa was being discussed on transitioning into a different role in the new DC Comics, and it looked like Superman was getting the axe. I pretty much at that point assumed that like essentially everybody from the DC EU is getting the axe, and they're just starting over. Maybe keeping Pattinson on as Batman, but I think the DCU. At first, I was like upset because I'm like, Henry Cavill did a pretty decent job. But then when I think about it, there's been so much drama, so much unevenness between all the movies. Honestly, just so much crap going on where there's like every movie has like some good, but it has a lot of unevenness and bad. Like pretty much every movie, even when Zack Snyder was doing Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman and there wasn't the debacle of Justice League, I feel like those movies weren't as good as they could have been. So I feel like this is them basically being like, you know what? We need to just start over. We like these actors, so let's try to figure out how to involve them in this next iteration as different characters. But we need to wipe the slate clean because it's just too ugly, too messy. And this is a guy who made the best Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, which is like their only TV show that I thought was pretty decent. And he's essentially willing to axe his own creations to move forward and create something new. So I think in the end, it actually probably had to happen because I think it's just too messy. There's too many different strings of like, maybe this takes place in the same universe as this and this, but everything's just a little tonally different. So I think it's a necessary step.
The sad thing is, I think that the one great strength of the DC universe so far has been casting. You really can't argue with any of the casting. I mean, all the actors were just. Momoa was brilliant. When I first heard Momoa 5 years ago, whenever they announced that, I was like, bingo, that's it. That's the perfect casting. And, Gal Gadot does a great job. I love, I love Ezra Miller, as fucked up as a person as that guy is. I loved him as the Flash. So I agree. I'm sad to see those roles maybe being recast. Now, they haven't. Listen, they haven't officially said anything about it. I mean, we know there's no Wonder Woman 3. Okay. Maybe they keep Gal Gadot in that. I don't know. Ezra Miller I'm amazed they haven't announced he's gone yet because I guess they're going to wait.
Because his movie's still coming out.
Yeah.
It's so far away at this point, like they can't say anything. I just think he probably won't be doing press for it.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
the guy is, wow. I mean, it's such a shame because he's very talented.
So talented. Yeah, he's good. He was good in almost everything he was in, but it doesn't matter how good you are with how many bad things you're doing outside of the good things. It's it's just too many crazy stories. He's too much of a wild card. Yeah, I feel like he's gonna have to go away for a few years and kind of find himself, and then come back and reinvent himself or something.
Yeah, he's already checked into a rehab or something or other. He's undergoing counseling.
But look, I agree with you. I think the casting was great. I just feel like if they stick with the same casting, they're still pigeonholed until a lot of the old mistakes. Because it's like, I could see the direction they were going. They were going to, with Black Adam, they were basically going to do like a new-ish universe with like a soft reboot. But then it's kind of confusing because it's like, what happened? What didn't happen? It's I think it's unfortunately for the best that they just kind of hit the reset button. Especially you're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't really like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'll just be honest, but like I loved the first one, and I liked the Christmas special a lot better than the second Guardians of the Galaxy. So, I think this third Guardians of the Galaxy movie is also a really good indication of like where this guy's at in his headspace of like future projects he's going to come out with. Because I almost wouldn't be surprised. They're saying that he's writing this Superman movie that's coming out. I almost feel like he'll direct it because he directed or I don't know if he directed, but he produced that movie that was supposed to be like the what if take on if Superman was a bad alien. I don't know if you remember the name offhand. It came out a few years ago. It had Elizabeth Banks.
Bright something.
Brightburn.
Bright for something like that.
Something. And so when they said he was making a Superman movie, I remembered he was like, Superman seemed to be like one of his favorite heroes. So, I'm hoping that, with them hitting the reset button, he's the kind of guy where if he's doing the reset button, it's for a good reason, and he thinks he can do the character justice by doing so. So
I just want to answer Jafum's question. Yes, Jafum, the Blu-ray will have everything on it. So yes, so stay tuned for when the Blu-ray comes out. Hopefully, 2023. All right, hold on. I gotta grab Pee Wee. He's barking up. Pee Wee, what's going on? Get over here. Come here. Get your ass out.
I'm just looking at your comments over here, guys. When I'm looking to the side, I've got my computers right here, but I got the camera over to like the edge, so it's like I'm looking over here.
Oh, that's Kingdom Come, Raoul. Kingdom Come is epic. It's my favorite graphic novel of all time, and that's awesome. Yes, and Red Sun was a great one. What if Superman landed in the Soviet Union?
I really like that animated movie they did.
Yeah, I have not seen it, but I do need to see it.
It's on HBO Max, I think.
So yeah,
Black Adam came out on HBO Max today, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet.
We're gonna have to. Crystal, I'll have to watch that together. I'm looking forward to that. So, and I was gonna say I loved Guardians of the Galaxy too. I really love the Yondu plot line. I thought that was very heartwarming, and that had a good.
I agree.
That had a good. As a movie, I'm sure. I could certainly see.
I'm just looking at the whole thing. The Yondu stuff was probably like the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
The Yondu stuff was probably the best part of the movie. Yeah, but for me, it wasn't enough to call it a great movie. No, it was enough just to service the story.
Yeah. I also love the title credit scene with Baby Groot dancing the ELO. I thought that
wasn't that in the first movie though?
No, that was the second movie. Baby
was where he's dancing to ELO. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he's dancing to the to ELO while the Guardians are fighting that big.
In the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah.
So anywho, let's just check in on the comments. No, the Pee-wee and the cat are not in conflict. Cat pretty much leaves Pee-wee alone. Pee-wee's kind of a little bit of a grouchy old man. So Kevin Bacon was great in it. Hey, you got to. I'm sure he got a kick out of being able to,
play himself
and parody himself and the whole 9 yards. I also had that Christmas song they played was just a earworm in my.
Was that what I don't get? Was that his band? Because I thought he had a band, but I didn't know if that was his band or not.
I don't know. Someone Google that.
Guys, if you could figure this out, let's figure this out live together. Was that Kevin Bacon's band?
Yeah, let's see. All right, Kevin Bacon's band, Guardians. Let's see. Now, I don't see it saying that it's his band per se.
They had a name. It was like the 47s or something like that.
Wait.
They're saying Mark Hamill was in it, but I don't know what he played.
Really?
He's listed in the cast when I'm looking at this on IMDb, and because of who he is, he has stopped billing on not on IMDb, on Google. But I wonder if he just had like a one and done cameo type thing. Yeah, no, it may be wrong because they're saying Maria Bakalova is in it, and I don't think she was in the Christmas special. I think she's going to be in the third movie.
Oh, okay. Oh, is she going to be in?
Because Maria Bakalova is the girl who she played. She played Borat's daughter in the most recent Borat movie.
Oh,
that's why I'm like, I don't remember seeing her in the Christmas special, so I think that's an error.
Gotcha.
Could be wrong.
Oh, they've got. Okay, we'll have to watch this.
Thanks to Rocket Money.
There's a every Easter egg in the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. I'll have to watch that afterwards as well. Big question from, let's see, Jay from S is where did Little Groot get the thumb that he brought to Yondu and Rocket when they were in that cell? That's the big question for Guardians 2. All right, I'll let you ruminate on that because I don't know.
Fountains of All I Want an Alien. I Want an Alien for Christmas. Fountains of Wayne. Is that the name of the band? Oh no, it was an old existing song of Old 97. So I guess their name is the Old 97s.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought that was hysterical when they were doing the song the first time.
Could be wrong. Just when you look at Kevin Bacon, don't you think he looks like the kind of guy that has a band?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he can play.
He's like the kind of guy, he has a band, you've never heard of him. He goes out and he tours all the time. You just never know about it because you're a fan of Kevin Bacon, not Kevin Bacon the musician. Because just like from Jazz Is, there's all these celebrities I met that like do that stuff where they have like their band and you would just like never know that they even had a band. And they tour all the time because they love music.
Gotcha. He said,
but I guess I'm wrong.
Oh, Raul says it was in the credit scenes of the holiday special. What was in the credit? Oh, there's a video of Kevin in a band. All right, I don't know.
I didn't stay for the end credit scenes with that movie, or for that.
All right, gotcha. You're very welcome, Stumbleruck. Stumbleruck got some NASA trading cards I had the other time. By the way, if you guys want the calendar now, the calendar's out. I'll show it to you again. Go to the Aries Studio store, ariesstudios.net. There you go. That the calendar is out. 2023 is out. So let's see.
And 2023 is coming up soon.
I know. Holy crap. We're we're getting there. So, all right. Any questions, comments? Anything else that any of you is burning a hole in your brain that you want to share? Because we can just chat about Star Trek or sci-fi. Oh, so Henry Cavill out as Superman, in as the executive producer an actor in Warhammer 40,000, which is now being licensed by Amazon, which is huge for all of us Warhammer geeks. That's big news. They've been.
Yeah, I thought you would have been talking more about it on Facebook. I thought you would have been tweeting that like every 30 minutes, talking about the new rumor about Warhammer. I was like waiting, and I was just like,
press release came out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, like, or the rumor of like what they're gonna do. You know what I mean? They're like, they're already talking about doing this.
Well, yesterday I went to the Warhammer store, that kind of my local one, which is an hour away, so it's not local, but it's everything's an hour away when you live in Monroe. And so I saw my friend Brian, who runs that store, has been running it for 5 years, and we just had an hour-long geek out session talking about Warhammer and the Horse Heresy. So yeah, I kind of got my fill. So I'm feeling. Oh, and then today was like, Henry Cavill. Well, Henry Cavill is a huge Warhammer player. He loves the stuff, and so we're all excited.
I think he'll do it right. It's like one of those situations where I've never heard of a situation where you have a fan that's like as famous as he is, that's EPing the show and starring as probably what's going to be like the main character in that show. You know what I mean? So you got a lot going for it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to, a lot of times actors have to get executive producing credits in TV shows and or movies, and they're kind of meaningless, usually TV shows.
Yeah, that's true. He may not be the showrunner. It would just be interesting if he was.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be the showrunner, but my guess is he's going to have more impact and more to say about the series than, typical, people who just have executive. It's crazy. I would look at all the executive producers on some of the Star Trek shows. You're like, what are all these people doing? But a lot of them are.
Yeah, well, like you said, some of them are just given that title for like something that they've done. And no offense going this way, but I know Rob Roddenberry and his producing partner, I think is Aaron Byers.
Trevor Roth.
Is it not Aaron Byers?
No,
Trevor Roth? Okay, so I see Aaron Byers on like every Star Trek show, and I'm assuming like he either does something actively at some, or he did something at some point, but I never hear about him. But like, I feel like he's one of those guys where it's like, you don't know what he does, but he had to do something. It's not like they just gave him the thing, but you just never hear about him. You never hear about him in like any of the interviews. Like if they're talking about people, they're talking about like Kurtzman. They're talking about Frakes a lot because he's so involved with all the different shows on the directing side. Akiva, and it's crazy how, like, let's talk about that guy for a second. Crazy how many shows that guy is, like, first of all, EPing, like, or has like producing, has so much say in the way things are running. I mean, that guy, it's not been that way for like 5 years. Like, this guy's been doing this stuff for like a while now. Like, I gotta tip my hat, whether you like what he does or not. That dude works a crazy amount, and I tip my hat off to you, sir. You do a lot of work.
Yeah. I know. And I've talked about Rod Roddenberry and Trevor Roth as executive producers. I'm like, they only gave, there was a business reason behind it, because they wanted to get Rod to stop selling Star Trek stuff as part of the deal. So, and they thought that putting his name on the show would add some validity.
Right. Which I actually personally think it does. It involves the Roddenberrys and to current Star Trek.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just having his name involved. I'm sure he did very little, because people don't realize Rod's not a Star Trek guy. He's not like. Yeah,
he's a Star Wars dude.
Yeah. And Trevor Roth, nice guy. I've dealt with Trevor many times, and he's a nice guy, but he's never going to be executive producer on a TV show, right? But he's Rod's high school buddy. So, so they did everything together, and kudos to Rod for, getting Trevor that credit, in the deal. That was very strong. But the point being, like, those guys weren't active executive producers, right?
Right.
So it runs the gamut, and then you have a showrunner as executive producer. Yeah, well, we get that because that guy's doing all the work, also. So, and Schwartz. Kurtzman, for example, just gets executive producer on everything because he was the guy that was put in charge of the whole thing. So, Ultimately, it's
I think they just need to give Jonathan Frakes like not even his own show to star in. I think maybe a show that he maybe cameos in or something, but they should let him run a Star Trek show. I feel like he would kill it.
Absolutely. Yes,
I don't know if
absolutely.
he'd want to do it at his age at this point. I feel like he'd like maybe that's too much work.
Yeah.
But like I feel like he'd kill it if given the opportunity.
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. Totally.
First Contact, one of my favorite movies. So it's like, I don't know. There's a little spot in my heart.
Yeah, listen, First Contact is an amazing movie. It is a great movie. First Contact is I think, is the closest to Wrath of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
It is a perfect movie.
I think it's so good that it makes up for how boring Insurrection was.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. First Contact is fantastic. I mean, listen, I love Star Trek 6 and I love Generations. Okay, I love both those movies. They're probably I would in my ranking it would probably be Wrath of Khan, and then in some mix it's First Contact, Generations, Star Trek 6, right? But Generations and Star Trek 6 both have weaknesses, right? And there's stuff that I ridiculously love about them, but there's also stuff I'm going, the whole
or the pacing. I also think you're thinking pacing too, right? Like the pacing throughout all of First Contact, it's like consistent. You never really hit a point in that movie where you're like, I'm bored. I should go check my phone right now or something like that. Like they take you through the whole thing.
That is a great point. That is exactly how I think of First Contact, because it is just it is the object lesson in there's nothing superfluous in there. Everything has a point, and everything is driving the drama and ratcheting everything up. Every single scene is ratcheting things up. Even if it's like the scene where Kirk and Lily and he's in, and she grabs the phaser and he shows her Earth. That is there's tension in every scene, and so yeah, I love that. But then you look at Star Trek 6. I love Nicholas Meyer. But I look at Star Trek 6, and as much as I love so much of it, I want to jettison everything that happened on the prison planet. And the whole thing with Scotty and Aurora trying to translate Klingon, I was just like, oh, that is just so freaking forced. And it's just, am I right? Is that Star Trek 6 or was that Star Trek 5?
Yeah, no, Star Trek 6. And I rewatched it the other day because they just put all the movies on, all the original and next gen movies on HBO Max. And I watched it, and I remember, they only the movies. That's it. They put 1 through, I guess, 10, right?
Did they? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it's only the movies, and I don't know if they're in 4K, but I just got this little, very cheap but nice TV for $200 on Black Friday, and it's got the stuff built in. So I was like, all right, let's check out HBO Max. But anyways. Watched the 6 the other day, Star Trek 6, and I remember getting to there were some inconsistencies in the writing that I never really thought about, and it all revolved around the prison planet stuff. And it's funny that you bring that up because there's things that they said in there, like in certain scenes, and I wasn't like planning on talking about it, so I didn't write anything down. But it's just stuff that I never noticed when I was a kid watching that movie, where I saw it and I'm like for instance, they're talking about evacuating Kronos. I don't think Kronos is evacuated in Next Gen. They're talking about taking like crazy steps here, and like they never really. I get that it came out at the same time Next Gen was out, so like there's some things that like they were trying to set up, but like they already knew where the future was going to be. So there were certain things that they said that I was just like, I don't know if I would have done that, but it was minor things. Yeah, as being an uber Star Trek fan, I just noticed.
Yeah, no, I think the visuals were very strong in that movie.
For sure,
beautiful.
For sure,
it looks beautiful.
It's the most modern looking, which kind of makes sense. Most modern looking Star Trek original movie.
Yes, agreed, absolutely. And the whole ending is a little forced. The assassination thing, that's a little forced. There's just little things that. but there is, on the other hand, a lot to love about that. I mean, Christopher Plummer is just wonderful in that movie. And so is David Warner. They're both just great characters. So there's and the whole scene in the beginning with the Excelsior, I think, is just phenomenal. Sulu is great in that movie. It's great to see Sulu as a captain. It's great, captain of the Excelsior.
He's really not in that movie that much, though. Like when I rewatched it, I'm like, dang, he only had a few scenes in that entire movie.
Yeah, in the beginning and then in the end. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. And Generations is the same thing. I mean, listen, I don't have a problem with them killing Kirk. Listen, up until a few years ago, people were still asking to bring back William Shatner. I was like, really? Even when they were
at this point, he's too old.
And even when they were talking about it in Star Trek 2009, I was like, really? Do we? It's like, do we really?
But there was some interesting stuff about Undiscovered Country that I found out when I was reading that book, The 50-Year Journey.
Oh yeah.
And like one of the things was that like they filmed all the scenes with Walter Koenig in them in like 6 days. Like that guy was on set for Undiscovered Country for 6 days. I was like, and then you go back and you look, and he's in that movie way more than George Takei is. And I was just like, wow, they got a lot done with this guy in 6 days. Because when you see, it's like you have to factor in every time you see this guy there, he's probably like there that they did that whole scene most likely that day. They always could have shot stuff that he's not in frame for at another time, but it's just he was in enough of the movie where I was very surprised they did that in 6 days. That was the only number I remember. They didn't talk about anybody else, but I remember they spoke about Walter Koenig specifically being on set for 6 days. I was like, wow. Okay.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Cool. Yeah. You mentioned Insurrection, and listen, Insurrection is a good 2-part episode of Star Trek.
Exactly. But when you're going to the movie theater, you're not going there to watch a 2-part episode. You're going there to have, and I think that's where movies like Top Gun and Avatar and all this stuff, it's people are starting to realize going to the movie to have a cinematic experience, whether you realize it or not. Like you're going there to have fun, to almost like go on a ride at a theme park. You're there to have an experience, and to just go sit down and watch an episode of a TV show at a movie theater, it's almost like an indulgence. Like, yeah, if you have access to go to the theater all the time, sweet. It would be awesome to go back and watch all the Star Trek TV episodes in a huge setting like that.
Right.
So yeah, I think it was kind of a wasted adventure, and it was the same reason why I didn't like the reboot Star Trek Beyond, because although I thought it was a decent movie, I thought it kind of played like the whole thing would have just been an episode. I felt like it wasn't epic enough to be like a big budget movie.
Star Trek Beyond, really?
Yeah, I thought that the story to me felt like it was just like something that would have been like a regular episode. It wasn't like impactful.
Yeah, and the problem with Star Trek Beyond kind of plays to that whole thing that Star Trek is never about a villain, right? Which was proven wrong with Star Trek 2, of course. But which is also why a lot of people like Star Trek the Motion Picture, because Star Trek the Motion Picture is the most like an episode. That it talks about bigger themes and there's not a villain really. There's a problem that has to be solved.
And in 4 as well.
So, and 4 is the same. Yeah, exactly. 4 is exactly the same thing. In
the reboot movies, there always had to be some kind of like bad guy, and they couldn't figure out how to make it work without it to tell a story.
Right. Exactly. But that's JJ, right? All right. So Nero's the bad guy here, and then we got Khan is the bad guy here, and then we got what's his name, whoever it was, it's the bad guy.
I couldn't tell you. It's I've at least I've seen Star Trek in the Darkness a few times, but I've seen Star Trek Beyond fully maybe like twice. I think it was like once in the theater and once when it came out.
I saw it once on DVD. Theater, and I've seen it bits and pieces. And Star Trek Beyond. First of all, the space station, Yorktown as a
Huge.
space station is like, really? That looks like, its own
A
little
planet.
Dyson sphere. I mean, that's just freaking
Yeah.
ridiculous. That's not a space station.
They didn't have that tech. They didn't have that tech back then.
No, it's like we're not going to have that. It's like 2,000 years in the future you might be able to do that.
Mm.
So that whole swarm ship thing just kind of like, really, wow, you killed the Enterprise off real fast. Yeah, I don't know. But all the character stuff is great,
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's just, Spock had a good. Uhura had some stuff. The new character, she had a good backstory.
Yeah.
I actually liked the backstory of the bad guy. I thought it was kind of interesting, but still, it was a lot of character development, I guess you could say, for a fourth movie that never happened.
Yeah, and a motorcycle on the bridge of a starship.
Yeah.
What?
But what I hope they do, since they're really trying to do at least one more movie, is I hope they try to kind of figure out how to merge the universes to do some kind of like multiverse thing. Because it's clear that the whole Chris Hemsworth thing isn't going to happen now, because they've already basically told the story of what that movie was going to be. So it's like it's not like they're going to go out and do that movie now. So maybe if there would be a good way to since we've already seen that at least the future knows about the multiverse and Discovery, maybe they can do something. Who knows? Because they were talking about doing some kind of whole crossover thing. And I think they were talking about doing it more on like the TV shows. And it's not like anything's being developed. It's more of like a what if, this would be cool if, but since they're having the conversations, what if they just tied everything in together and they used that budget to do a big budget Star Trek movie to be able to tie it in? Because then you're bringing in moviegoers into the television universe, and you're bringing in, people who watch the television shows into the movie universe if done right. So I think that's my pitch. I think they should do that, but just figure out a good story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Well, folks, listen, we are done here. That is, our hour is up. I do want to remind you, please make sure you sign up for the Axanar Newsletter if you are not already signed up. That is the best way to get all the information about Axanar and what's happening with our shoot next month. And then also our Patreon campaign down there below. Make sure you sign up for our Patreon campaign to support the studio. The calendars are out. Yes, the calendars are out. Please go to the Aries Studio store and buy one of your calendars and support the studio. We appreciate it greatly. And that's it. Geoff, I'm excited. I'm about to, after this, I'm going to go jump on the bike as I endeavor to get in shape for this coming shoot. And look, I'm real excited. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. We're about to buy an 85-inch TV for the view screen. So I'm excited about
that. Shall be interesting.
Yeah, no, the Dana's going hog wild on the bridge. So we're really excited about that. I can't wait to see all the things he comes through with. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who's new, who's here. Thank you so much for popping in. We will be doing this again next week. Also, look for make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you get notifications. I will be doing. I'll probably do a live stream sometime this weekend. Just shoot the shit as it was, and we'll keep you guys in the loop. So, all right. Thank you so much, Geoff, my friend. We will be talking. Everyone else, live long and prosper, and stay Starfleet strong, my friends. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.